Alright, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, we say, Brak the Ho, Brak the Shad, Brak the Ho, Brak the Shad, Brak the Ho, Bashim Yoshad, Bashim Akakadash. And the honors, the elders, and apostles, the great millstone who do rule and teach well. As well as honors to you brothers out there on the highways and byways who do have GMS on your title, as well as you brothers that don't have GMS on your title. This young brother here, Shamash Wan Ban Yahuda Ban Yasharallah. Alright, Shamash Wan Ban Judah, Ban Israel, okay? For people that don't know the Hebrew, okay? So-called Negro. And I want to get into this video. The water to the brother Rakamium, in the chat, through the spirit. He found this video, and he posted it in our little chat that we have for the Burning with Fire camp. And then we were kind of conversing in the chat, or having a spiritual conversation in the chat, throwing out precepts and stuff like that. And the spirit just came on me to do a video on it, so I mean, might as well. So start around like here.
Classified as minorities. But your people, this is your country. The rules, the laws in this land was made for your people.
My parents are immigrants.
Where your parents from?
They're from Italy.
Italy. Where in Italy?
Southern Italy.
Southern Italy. Guess what, man? You're not of our people, man. You're not an Israelite. Right? You're just like...
Oh, damn. Well, he fucked up, because we're going to break it down, but more Southern Italy, so there's a good chance this man he's talking to is an Israelite, but we'll break all that down, and I'm going to prove it. But let's just let this guy speak on a little bit longer.
A British man that came here and enslaved and got riches. Read.
There's the book of Luke 21 and 24 in the GNT. Some will be killed by the sword, and others will be taken as prisoners to all countries.
So that's what happened to the real Jews. The real Israelites were...
Well, I'm going to break that down and show you that you had Israelites in southern Italy, not just there, right? Of course, across the entire world, right? And that your parents, well, maybe I may not get into that, but I'll just say that now, right? Your parents has nothing to do with whether or not you're an Israelite. It's the seed line of your father. It goes through your spirit, right? You got to read the spirit, right? Because our generations, a lot of our records are gone. Our records are gone, so you got to read the spirit. And just because someone is dark doesn't mean that they're Israelite either, because you have the tares. But once again, we're going to break all that down. But I'll start off with the history. We'll get to Revelation, the 20th chapter. And we'll show you a breakdown that this guy would have known if he wasn't so busy rapping or so busy trying to have bottle girls at the Passover, or trying to be a Hebrew study buddy and charging people for breakdowns. Even with YouTube, I mean, you got ads on your videos, bro. Like, it's good to say buy the truth and sell it not, man. The fuck you got ads on your videos, bro. Alright, so Revelation 20 verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and the great chain in his hand. Alright, so the angel in this one, in times past, your brother said that it was Yahushai, but I recently watched a video from the brother GMS Inspiration and Motivation. He said that's just an angel, so I'm just gonna stay on the safe side to say it's just an angel. Alright. Having the key of the bottomless pit and the great chain in his hand, right? So the key represents like power, right? Because the key, right? Literally, figuratively, a key, right? To denote power and authority of various kinds, right? So the power over the bottomless pit. So this angel has power over the bottomless pit. And the bottomless pit represents Europe, right? And it's called that because, Europe doesn't have a lot of resources. And there's a deeper breakdown into that you can get on that, proving that it's the bottomless pit. But just look at Revelation, the 9th chapter, where it talks about Abaddon, which represents Kaiser Wilhelm II. It says that he was over the bottomless pit, right? And that means he had the power over Europe because he was the head over Germany, and Germany was very strong during World War I. That was actually the reason why that war was begun to begin with, was because Germany was getting very strong Is during the Industrial Revolution, it was getting a lot of power. So basically, they had to the British. It was really all these guys on the Amlec. They got together and they decided to take him down. But check out my Odyssey, and I repost documentaries all the time. Try to look for one called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars by I think his name is Marco Rivera or Eric Rivera, something like that. But you can check that out on my Odyssey. Something Rivera was his name, but that one gets into it, right? And the great chain represents slavery, right? Why slavery? Who's being put in slavery, right? Verse 2, and they holding the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, right? So the dragon represents Rome. If you look at Revelation, the 12th chapter talks about that, right? 7 heads and 10 horns represent the Roman Empire, right? Back then, it was Rome and its allies, right? Various nations that they conquered, and they put, Edomite leaders on top of them. And they spread and had that rulership over those various regions, right? And nowadays, it's NATO and the EU, But when we're talking about this one in the second verse, right? This one is talking about back then, the ancient Edomite Roman Empire, where they had their different rulerships and kings in different regions apart, in these varied regions, these various parts, if that makes sense, right? Various regions that Rome conquered, they had kings over them that were Edomites and had different rulerships, right? There's Rome and its allies, basically, if that makes sense, all right? This is not talking about NATO and EU, okay? Which is the devil and Satan and bound him 1,000 years, right? Now the devil because he's a false accuser and a deceiver, right? And Satan because he's adverse to all things that are righteous, and serpent because of his ties to witchcraft too. Because if you go back in Hebrew for that word serpent, I believe it goes back to witchcraft, but on another level too, because he's a serpent-like people. But we could prove that I'm not lying, that I'm telling the truth on this one. I'm not misremembering it. Hold on. All right, so I looked it up. That's Nakash, right, in the Hebrew. And where was it? Serpent? No. There was something in here that I remember seeing a long time ago. Symbol of world powers, no. It was something I was looking at. Simile of perniciousness or ungodly. Well, that's part of it. That goes to right, ungodly, right? Dang, where did I see that from? There was something in there, so give me a second. Okay, so I found it. Basically, when you take it, right, you go here and no, I didn't want that one, right? Let's go back to the interlinear, right? So that word is, right, Nakash, right, Nakash. You go back here again, which is really just the same word, but you ignore those accents and whatever, because it just goes back to Jiddish or Yiddish, which goes back to basically what the causes were doing. They mixed the Germanic languages with the Hebrew, right? So that word, right, to practice divination, divine, observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe, practice foretelling, take as an omen, right? Practice divination, exactly, and that's what they were. They were basically on the left hand, man. See, an enchanter, right? That left hand knowledge. This is the type of stuff what Esau is getting up to, man. Alright? Diligently observe. Be like a warlock, man. Observe the signs of the omens. Which the Lord used that, all that left hand knowledge against him, man. Because even though he used it on Eve, right? that you should be as gods, right? Knowing good is good, knowing good is evil, good and evil, right? I mean, what did all that do? You know, it pushed forward, you know, prophecy and events leading all the way up to here. So really, he did a good thing if you think about it in the grand scheme of things. You know, the Lord just used him to push forth, you know, his agenda, his message, and his will. All right. So yeah, this is what I wanted. Divination, right? Ties all the way back to Esau because they still do this stuff anyway. Divination, you know, and witchcraft and stuff. They're heavy into that. Okay, right. So that's just a breakdown. But now I'm gonna try and get to this breakdown. But I mean, that was just like the first breakdown of the certain points here. Right? But now I want to hurry up and get into this history real quick. Revelation 20:2, and he laid hold on the dragon, right? Rome, the old serpent, which is the devil. Edomite ran Rome, right? Lay hold on the dragon, that old serpent, right? We proved that already. Devil and Satan, you know, because he's average to righteousness and bound him 1,000 years, right? Started 325 with right, Constantine the Great, you know, and that pretty much ended around the 1400s, 1500s circa. You know, big event happened during that time was the fall of Constantinople. These Edomites starting to get together, and they formed the Turks. And they had a time in the sun where they were ruling, you know, and taking down various nations, so on and so forth, right? And then, you know, after that, Jake was getting put down low, leading all the way up to what, like 1619 circa, you know, where we were taken off of West Africa and brought over here to America through hardcore bondage. All right, all those things, all these events, Jake losing the rulership in Europe, set a precipice, or set up the a way for Esau to have that power to start, you know, putting us to hardcore slavery and taking us over to America, all right, and also other regions as well, like South America, Caribbean, etc., right? And cast him to the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, verse 3, right? And cast him to the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. The 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loose a little season, right? Now, you can read the 13th tribe for a deeper breakdown, but these Edomites during this time, during the so-called Dark Ages, right, which is the Dark Ages for them, right, or the Middle Ages, whatever you want to call it, these Edomites were basically like fighting one another. They were having wars against one another, and they couldn't get anything together. You know, they were all over the place. You had some that were working with the Muslims, and you had others that would maybe try to make certain deals with Jake, you know, and the Holy Roman Empire, and then they would switch, and they just wouldn't be able to get anything together, right? And into the 1,000 years to be fulfilled, right? The 1400s, with the start of the early Renaissance, was when they start to get things together. You know, they start to form the Turks. They start to form that. Those I think they had different tribes. They formed the Turkish race, Edomite tribes. They formed the Turkish, and they start to go around and take down Jake. You know, and after that, he must be loose a little season, right? Which is that season that we're in right now, right? Where Esau is still ruling, right? But that time is ending. So, I want to talk about that, right? So, while Esau was bound that 1,000 years, right, for the time of Constantine the Great, right? Basically, Esau was in subjection, right? And Esau was in subjection, and Jake was ruling. And who was, of course, you had the Holy Roman Empire, right, with Constantine, which I just mentioned, but you also had the Moors, right? And that's what I want to get into, right? Where they ruled and why is South Italy important, right? Which I already said, because, you know, Moors ruled South Italy, but I'm going to get it and show you the